Hello, and welcome to another episode of Red Clay This Month. As always, well, maybe after my third time of hosting, I can actually say, as always, let's just say I'm back again. It's me, Dr. Amy Grundy, Director of Elementary School Operations and all-around hostess with the mostest. We have got an amazing show planned for you today. Why, you ask? Well, even if you didn't ask, I'm going to tell you. You see, every month of the year, there are a bunch of notable observances. Some are month-long, some are week-long, and others, well, they just get a day. So we won't spend too much time talking about those. Well, just kidding. But these special observances are used by various groups and organizations to raise awareness of an issue, commemorate a group of an event, or just to celebrate something special. For instance, in May, we have National Pet Month. This is a celebration of the benefits that pets bring to people's lives and vice versa. It also increases public awareness of services available from professionals who work with animals and provides a forum for people to post pictures of their pets on social media. And in July, we celebrate National Ice Cream Month. Well, that one makes perfect sense. It's summer, it's hot, and who doesn't love ice cream on a summer day? I know I do, but it must be in a cup, not a cone. That totally stresses me out, thanks to a very sad incident when I was 7 years old and my ice cream landed on the ground in just one lick. Yet I digress. So these are just some silly examples, but seriously, there's some great causes and organizations that we support right here in Red Clay. And on today's show, we'll be looking at some of the special days that take place during the month of October and meet some of the great people throughout Red Clay that help raise awareness of these special days. So stay tuned and we will be right back. Kids, we all said some funny things. We just may not remember exactly what we said or admit to what we said. But we hear loads of these stories across our district. And that is why we have our next segment. Here's a funny one that was shared with us. A librarian had a first grade student ask for the book, Aliens and UFOs. She actually came up to her and said, "Do you have the book Aliens and UFOs?" It took the librarian a few minutes to realize that the student was spelling out UFO. Phonics instruction at its best. A second grade reading teacher shared this cute comment made by one of her students. Apparently, when you check out a nonfiction book, she said, you may actually get a real picture, a nonfiction book about the sun, you may actually get a real picture of the sun on the back. Who knew? Nonfiction, right? Remember to keep these coming. You can email us at edtvstuff@gmail.com, and please send a photo along. We love to see who is saying what here in Red Clay, and add it to our collection of What Do You Say, Red Clay. Anyway, one campaign that we fully support here in Red Clay, not only in October, but all year long, is National Bullying Prevention Month. The campaign is held during the month of October and unites communities nationwide to educate and raise awareness of bullying prevention. You know, I've never been a big fan of the term bullying. I prefer to address this month with one word, kindness. And I look to all our leaders and our teachers, our staff, and our students as kindness ambassadors. Which brings us to our first guest today. So please join me in welcoming, all the way from Baltz Elementary School, Amy O'Neill, Principal, Stacey Poppa, School Counselor, and Alexia, a student at Baltz. Hi, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to have three guests here, especially to have one of our Baltz Bears live and in person here in our studio. So from your perspective, Ms. O'Neill, why is kindness so important to Baltz?
I think the key is that it's important to build a community. I think it's important to build a place where everybody feels like they're connected and welcome and involved. And when all of those pieces are in place, then I know that the best learning can happen.
Absolutely. So kids will be ready to learn. Ms. Poppa, can you tell us some of the structures and frameworks that are in place at Baltz that help promote kindness?
Sure. We have many things happening at Baltz that we're excited about. Every day, our students begin their day with a morning meeting. During this time, students greet one another, they share, and they connect. with all their classmates and their teacher. We have a problem-solving program that we use school-wide called Kelso's Choices. We have a social-emotional learning curriculum that we use called Second Step. We introduce students to learning about self-regulation through the zones of regulation. We have a mindful minute segment during our Sunday story time.
What exactly is a mindful minute?
So during our Sunday story time, we have a segment where I give tips on how to practice some of the programs that we have in our schools. So for an example, one of our mindful minutes was about belly breathing, learning, practicing self-regulation. Another mindful minute was about reminding students about solving problems and informing our parents as well of what we teach our students at school so they can reinforce that at home.
Perfect, okay. So it's helping kids to stay calm and focused.
Yes.
Excellent. So as kindness experts, you probably are leading the way for many of the students at Balts. Tell me what you would do if you, I'm going to ask this one to Alexia. If you ran into a student who was not saying kind words to another student, how might you handle that?
I would go up to the person and say, you're not supposed to do that because you're not supposed to do that because that's considered bullying, and you're not supposed to bully other people because when you get older, you might not be able to get friends because they'll consider you as a bully because you bullied other people.
Right, so it's so important that people are kind to each other so that they can have friends. What would you do if you saw somebody sitting by themselves at lunch?
I would go sit with them because they might not have very many friends, and if they don't have very many friends, they might not be noticing a lot of ways. So I would go sit with them and ask them if they wanted to play at recess.
Excellent. I love what you just said about not being noticed. It's so important that every student at Balts feels a sense of belonging, and if somebody feels like they're not noticed, it is, in fact, so wonderful to hear that you would want them to feel noticed and feel that sense of belonging. Very proud of you. So I've heard the best way to spread kindness is through random acts of kindness. Can you share one random act of kindness, perhaps at school or in your personal life that you've completed?
One of the things that I think, one of the ways that I try to spread kindness,
Yes.
I think, is to notice when others are kind and kind of highlight it. For example, one day I saw a boy in the cafeteria who had kind of separated himself from his class, and another boy noticed this as well, and he raised his hand quietly and he said, "Can I go sit with him? He looks like he's lonely." And I said, "Oh, yeah, sure." And I, gave him some positive reinforcement for that. But when I talked to his parents one day, just real quick, I just shared with them how kind that was and how I had noticed it, and then they just beamed from the inside out. They were just so proud of their child for noticing when another person looked lonely and to the way that their own child spread that kindness. So I sort of feel like in my role, sometimes being a person who highlights when others are showing kindness is a way that I try to just spread that kindness.
Sharing the message and making sure that people know. Absolutely. Ms. Poppa, something that you can do or you can tell parents that they can do to support raising kids to be compassionate and kind. Is there any advice that you can give to parents?
Sure. First of all, I think as parents, we should be role models for our students and display kindness in all that we do, even if it's just smiling to a stranger, being helpful, opening the door for someone. But also specifically in the school setting, we often speak up when we notice something wrong, but I think we can also speak up when we notice things that are right. So even just taking the time to write your teacher, your student's teacher a note, letting them know that you have noticed and appreciate something that they've done to help their child out.
Excellent. And Alexia, something that a kid can do, like help your brother with his homework or help mom clean up, what's something kids can do to promote kindness either in school or at home?
Try to involve as many people as you can, because some people get left out, and some people don't like being left out because they don't like the feeling of it. And if you think that you wouldn't like the feeling of being left out, why do you think other people would?
Right. Can you name that emotion?
Kind of like being uninvolved and
when you appreciate how other people feel. Maybe Ms. Poppa could help you. What's that emotion that we learn in our second step curriculum?
Empathy.
Empathy. And on that note, I do want to thank you all for being here. I appreciate the work that you're doing to spread kindness across Balts Elementary School and within our district, because October, as we indicated, is Kindness Month, and you certainly are kindness ambassadors. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Stay with us, because when we come back, things are really going to get popping around here.
During high school, I hung with the wrong crowd and I never graduated.
I helped Santiago in many different ways, like all fathers do, because he always wanted to go to college.
I felt a little embarrassed to come back to school, but eventually, once I came here, I knew that it's for a bigger goal.
He was very dedicated, hardworking. He connected with his teachers, he connected with other students. That was one of the key reasons why he was able to keep forging ahead.
It was amazing to see him graduate. This was one thing that meant so much to him, and of course, it meant so much to us too.
With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed. That support is everything.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
In Red Clay, there's more to being a school nurse than just giving out Band-Aids. Sure, we help prevent the spread of flu and other diseases, but did you also know that we work with physicians to coordinate care? We administer medication and manage chronic disease. We coordinate sports physicals and provide education to students, staff, and communities. We deal with stomach aches, sprains, and nosebleeds. We conduct screenings for hearing, vision, and so much more. Plus, we document it all. And sure, we give out the occasional Band-Aid or two as well. Red Clay Nurses, keeping your kids healthy is what we do best.
Welcome back, and as you can see, I've stepped away from my desk for our next segment because it is October and yet another national observance. October is Popcorn Poppin' Month, a month where we celebrate popcorn. With me today is our supervisor of nutrition, our manager of nutrition services, Jessica Terranova, and she's going to share with us some healthy snacks that involve popcorn.
I am, and thanks for letting me pop in as a guest today.
Oh, how funny.
So, as Amy mentioned, I am the supervisor for manager of the nutrition program, and I also am the host of the Red Clay Cook-Off, which you can also watch on EDtv. And I really value food. I mean, who doesn't, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what we're going to talk about today, obviously, is Popcorn Poppin' Month, which is in October, celebrated in October. And I did a little research because I wasn't familiar with the month in general. So as I did more research, I realized it's been celebrated for over 30 years, but didn't become official until 1999.
1999,
which I always think of the song. So I think we say, pop it like it's 1999. So today we're going to do that. We're going to pop our own popcorn. So when you think of popcorn, most people think, what do you think of?
I think of the movies, a baseball game, and I actually do sometimes think of a healthy snack after I've eaten a big dinner and I still want more.
Exactly. So popcorn, most people think movie theaters, think a big old tub full of butter, salt, or maybe you just think of something like microwave popcorn. But a lot of people
That's my go-to.
It's a great go-to. A little bit of calories for a lot of bulk. But today we want to really take it back to cooking and really take it back to where, bring it back to its original form. So stovetop popcorn is really easy to make. So
Even for somebody who doesn't really cook.
Exactly, it is. It's pretty easy. So I have a pot, a pretty sturdy pot. It's good to have a heavy duty pot.
Okay.
And I have a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil heating in here, and it's a little bit hot. You don't want to let it get too hot because the oil will burn and you'll kind of taste that flavor. So I'm going to go in with a 1/4 cup of popcorn kernels, these golden little kernels of goodness.
And you find those probably in the same area of the grocery store where you find this?
Exactly, good point. So I just have them in a mason jar, but typically they look like this and you can buy them in a bag or whatever. Okay. But for this little container, you get about 180 cups of popcorn, which I'm like, wow, that's a good cost savings, right?
Yep.
I don't know if we could actually eat 180 servings of popcorn, but
speak for yourself.
Depends how hungry you are. So you just pop the kernels in there, and again, you want to keep the heat over medium, and you're just gonna hear them start to pop open and you'll sizzle. This would be a good point where you could add other flavors too. Okay. Something I've done, you could add a sprig of rosemary, and then when it's finished, that rosemary flavor will infuse the kernels, and then top it with some Parmesan cheese. You could use some chilies.
Okay, so you just took a very basic snack and made it very gourmet.
Exactly. You can do whatever you want. You can do Old Bay. Old Bay goes good with everything.
Okay.
Today we're just doing typical. And I used extra virgin olive oil. You could use other oils. You could use avocado oil. You could use coconut oil. It's good if you're trying to stay healthy with it. Choose a heart healthy oil. And today, like I said, we are using olive oil. So while this is Poppin, we talked a little bit about, like you said.
Yeah, because I think that this is probably most people's go-to, correct?
It is. It is definitely.
Is this healthy?
It is. I mean, there's conflicting research on, the concept of using the microwave and the additives in order to make it so convenient. I mean, with convenience foods, there are usually additives and preservatives to get that convenience. So it's good if you're in a pinch, but it really is a good idea when you have time, and it doesn't take much time. You're going to see this takes a matter of minutes. So it really isn't something that takes a lot of time. They're already popping around,
I see
popping around in there.
Yeah.
And I always,
fun.
exactly, you want to have a dog nearby because when you lift the lid, a few kernels always go haywire.
We didn't invite one today, so we'll have to figure out what we'll do with those kernels.
We'll eat them. I'm just kidding. And this is another option if you didn't want to necessarily do stovetop.
I think there's probably many viewers who probably don't even know what this is.
Yeah, that's right. So that little gadget is an air popper.
Okay.
And you can actually get those for $15 to $20. You can get a pretty decent one that'll make a good amount of popcorn.
I think this was all the rage in 1999.
1999, exactly, right? So that is a very economical solution that you can make homemade popcorn if you don't want to be sitting at the stove with olive oil in a pan.
Will it taste different than this, correct?
It will in a sense that you won't have it cooked in the oil. So it's going to be healthier in the sense of no fat. I mean, fat's not bad, so I don't want to say fat's bad because fat's good. But for the amount of calories that you can have 5 cups of this popcorn, which is a lot of popcorn, for very little calories, like 150 calories, I think.
Good to know.
Yeah, so you'll see this, it's good to kind of give it a shake every now and then, but you'll hear the kernels starting to slow down. And speaking of calories.
Same danger as microwave popcorn, like if I don't get back fast enough, it'll burn?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you don't want it won't smell as bad.
Okay.
Microwave, have you ever burnt microwave popcorn?
Yeah.
That's horrific.
Yes.
It's happened in the office once and we're all like, what is going on? Is that smell? So yeah, you do want to just keep an eye on it as the kernels start to, and we're done.
Excellent.
As the kernels start to slow, so we'll just let a couple pop out. Oh, none are popping. So I am just going to pour that right in here.
Oh, that
so you
looks
can
delicious.
see how simple that is.
Smells delicious.
And at the bottom of the bag, you always get so many of those unused kernels, which I love picking the ones that are half cracked.
Yep.
You don't get too many of those here. So it really does pop really nice. And like I said, it's so simple, it's done.
Perfect.
So you could sprinkle some salt on that, Old Bay. If you wanted to, you could add a drizzle of butter. You could just eat it like that, which I'll try one.
And like this, it is healthy?
Yes.
All right, I'll go ahead and try
Absolutely. So for about
delicious.
Yeah, for about 4 cups, and like I said, you could add a little bit of sea salt or maybe some pink Himalayan salt or just spices. And for about 4 cups of that, it's about 120 calories, or 140 calories with the olive oil. So
what about that one kernel I just ate?
I think that's about 2.5.
Excellent.
Yeah, so just, a little extra. Just kidding. So speaking of calories, when people think snacking, you can get a lot of calories in just from snacking. So it's good to choose healthy snacks when you can. So this is just a quick comparison to show you how big the calorie difference is. Like, look, this is 150 calories.
And that's the same?
Exactly. It's about 150, 160 between all 3 of these. So you can sit in front of your TV and watch this with a movie, but you might get through the credits. I don't know, maybe not, the opening. And
I'm going to need to tell my husband that you're not to eat the whole bag, correct? Not healthy. Okay.
Not healthy.
Plus, very messy.
Very messy. They do give you orange fingers. I will say that if I'm going to pick a bad snack, cheese curls are at the heart of my favorite snacks. So.
But this much popcorn is equivalent to the calories of this.
Exactly.
And this.
Exactly. Pretty impressive,
yes.
right? And that just goes to show you.
The go-to for sure.
Yeah. Popcorn really is a healthy snack. They say popcorn, number 1, has fiber. So when you eat fiber, it works its way through your system slower and it leaves you feeling full longer. It's also considered a low glycemic index food, meaning it doesn't spike your sugars through the roof. So someone that has maybe diabetes or wants just to watch just keep a nice steady state of a feeling of fullness, popcorn is a good option because it really does work its way through your system slowly. So
very nice.
Great option for snacks. And I'm going to scooch around.
Sure.
You. Go ahead. Sorry, I apologize.
We have 2 ways that we can make it. Now, what can I do if I don't finish my bowl?
Don't finish your bowl, which we already agreed that you're going to need 180
I personally
cups.
I'm going to finish my bowl, but there are people who do not eat as much as I do who may have some leftovers.
Okay, so if you have leftovers, and that's a good.
This is why they don't let me in the kitchen.
So when I made the popcorn, I did save some leftovers. I will say keep it in an airtight container or a Ziploc bag and seal it. I left some out, and my daughter tried it the next day, and she's like, "Why are this popcorn's disgusting? Is this old?" So keep it airtight.
The answer was yes.
So what we're going to do actually with our leftover popcorn that we didn't eat during the movie, because we obviously ate a big dinner, because otherwise we'd eat that total huge bowl. We're going to take the leftover popcorn and we're going to make a trail mix out of it. So I'm going in with about, I would say, 3 cups of popcorn. And trail mix, again, it's very, it adds a lot of bulk for a little bit of calories, so a good bang for your buck. Going in with some
again, portion control, right?
Portion control is still important, and still in this case, it's still important.
Okay.
I have some whole grain goldfish, so I'm going to go in with some goldfish. You can, and measurements aren't important.
Whole grain goldfish different than typical goldfish?
Yeah,
it's a different.
You could use typical goldfish, but yeah, whole grain goldfish. And whenever I have the opportunity to get more fiber in my daughter's diet, more whole grains in my kids' diets, or any kids' diet.
It's a good way to sneak it in because they look just like the others.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I've got some M's to M's. That's what my daughter calls them. So we're going to go in with some M's to M's for sweet and salty. We'll use all that. Some rice checks. Some peanuts. A little bit of peanuts.
Certainly
for
can
the
leave
protein.
those out for those who have allergies.
Exactly. And same thing with the almonds. I'm going in with some almonds, and these are good because they'll add fat and fiber, or fat and protein, which will keep you full longer.
And so this is a serving?
Yeah, no.
No.
So we're going to mix it. You can see the colors. The popcorn looks pretty, lots of colors. So this is a fun snack that you can use your leftover popcorn with.
Do you add seasoning to that, or just as is?
You could add seasoning if you wanted to. I mean, you could even add some caramel to the popcorn, melt some sugar and toss the popcorn in that seasoning, that sweetness. But if you have it plain, I mean, it's still delicious. It's excellent.
And that does look like it would make an excellent.
Yes. So I went ahead and I made little stickers. So it says, "Hope your day is poppin'," and just popping in to say no one's better than you. So
geez.
Just ways to add fun to your kid's lunchbox.
I mean, what better way to celebrate than with a good pun?
I know, and I forgot the pretzels too. You could add pretzels as well, so we have them up here. So the point is, you can add anything you want to the snack mix. But I think when it comes to popcorn, I love popcorn. Sounds like you do too.
I do as well.
So I brought us one more thing. Because what other food do you know that doubles as a fashion statement and a snack?
I actually had no idea.
Yeah.
All right, because we're celebrating, I will go ahead and put on my popcorn necklace.
Yeah, you look fabulous.
Thank you.
I'm loving it.
Thank you so much for bringing us some healthy snacks that our families can pack for their students as they pack their lunch during the school year, or when they get home from school. It's a good snack in the evening, as you indicated. So these are some great ideas that I know our viewers will take advantage of.
Great.
So thank you for being with us. All right, Jessica, before you go, we have to tell you about something new here on Red Clay this month.
Okay.
Do you know what that is?
No, and I'm a little nervous.
Well, it's called Dr. Grundy's Mandatory Fun. Now, you would not have to participate except for one thing.
Mandatory.
So, what we're going to do is we are going to make a human bullseye out of you. What we're going to do is we're going to see who can catch the most popcorn in 30 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, so first we'll put 30 seconds on the clock, and then I'll toss some popcorn at you. We'll count how many pieces you catch, and then it'll be my turn.
And I'm very bad at this. It's mandatory. I don't have a
It's
choice.
mandatory.
Okay.
Like I said, you wouldn't have to participate except for the fact that it's mandatory. And I think that children at home might have fun with this game too. So 30 seconds on the clock, and let's go. Whoops, that was a bad throw.
I'm a little tall.
I'm really bad. I think we have about 20 words.
Oh, the eyeball.
One. Oops, that's better.
Higher. Is it your pinky? Do I get like foul balls? No. Foul popcorn?
Oh, it looks like we're out of time. So you caught two.
Wait. Are you,
30
your
seconds.
turn.
No. Yeah.
Your turn.
You caught two pieces, and now, actually, we are out of time. So, Jessica, you are the winner of Mandatory Fun this afternoon.
I mean, I'll take it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for participating in Mandatory Fun. Stick with us because we have another amazing guest when we return.
I am what hunger looks like in America. I am an 8-year-old girl who's not excited for the last day of school. Because this may be the last time I'll have lunch. Till September. I am a single father of two who works 3 part-time jobs, and that's still not enough to put food on the table. I am a 16-year-old boy who just got my first job to help feed my little sisters.
I was created by artificial intelligence from faces of the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew they were hungry.
Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
School. It is often considered the safest place for our children. We know where they are and trust that they are in good hands. However, before they arrive, our child's day begins and ends with a short journey on a school bus. They travel on their all too familiar roads, their minds afforded the time to daydream, play, or rest. So when other motorists frequently ignore the laws, like failing to stop when the school bus's red lights are flashing and the stop arm is extended, this can happen. In the past decade, over 300 school-age children have been killed in transportation-related crashes. That is over 300 too many. Do not rush the red. Failing to do so puts precious lives at risk. As a country, we need to do better. We must keep our children safe.
Welcome back to Red Clay This Month. We've been looking at special observances throughout this month of October, and we will continue with our next guest. October is a time for Fire Prevention Week. Fire Prevention Week is observed each year during the week of October 9th. And it's during this week that children, adults, and teachers learn how to stay safe in case of a fire. Interesting and important stuff. But did you also know that every Red Clay school has its own firemen? They are part of the maintenance team, and their jobs are slightly different from what you might think. But why should you hear it from me when we have our next guest standing by? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Steve Owens. I appreciate you being here. Please have a seat. So tell us a little bit about your background in school maintenance. When did you get involved? When did you start working?
Well, I started here in 10/10/77.
1977.
And I started at third shift, 10:30 at night to 6:30 in the morning.
Okay.
And then I got tired of waking up because I worked it 8 years, and I had a chance to get the second shift, so I worked second shift for as a custodian for about 3 years. Then I had an opportunity to go to fireman custodian.
And tell me what the term fireman means in the context of what you do.
Well, the fireman means that I take care of the boilers, make sure there's proper amount of heat through the building, and in the summertime I got to make sure there's air conditioning and everything.
Okay.
To maintain the building.
So where do you think the term fireman actually came from?
Well, I was told the fireman came from years ago when they had to come into the school to stroke the boilers up with coal. That's where the term fireman came.
Very fun fact. So what you do every day is not technically fireman work,
no,
but it's about heating, air conditioning, and keeping the building comfortable for the students and the adults. Excellent.
And cleaning filters and everything to make sure they're proper filters so the air is fresher.
Excellent, excellent. So what does a typical day look like for you? So now you're on the day shift?
Yes, ma'am.
And what do you do? So you get here in the morning and what's typical for you?
I come in the mornings, I check all the pods out, make sure that everything is running. And after I do it, check each and every pod out, I come in and I come out, and then I got certain areas I got to clean.
Okay.
I got the art room C4, and then I got C1 bathrooms to clean and make sure they're all clean and everything else. But my most important job is to make sure everything is running proper.
Have you been at McCain High School your whole career?
Yes. I've never been in another school.
So you don't get lost from pod to pod to pod. That's just me who gets lost when I visit McCain High School.
Well, everybody does.
Everybody does?
My wife graduated here a long time ago, and she still gets lost.
Does she? It's a difficult building to navigate. So what's one thing you love most about being a McCain Highlander?
Well, I love the people I work with. I have a great first shift. I have a great relationship with my boss. I know what she expects of me. And all my people I work with, some people, oh, that's not my job, but it's everybody's job to help. And I've always been like that.
Yeah.
And another thing I try to strive in the kids to finish school.
So you actually interact and build relationships with students as well?
Do. A guy about 30 years ago graduated, he was going to quit. I talked him out of quitting school. He has a good job now. About 5 years ago, he come back and thanked me for it.
It's cliche, but the saying is it takes a village to raise a child, and
Exactly.
it truly does. And you never know the influence that you'll have until years later when you see, and they kind of come back and tell you, or you just hear about what kids are up to. That's fantastic. So in general, what's something like advice that you can give to students, to staff, to make your job easier? Because your job is really very important.
I like for them to throw their gum away proper instead of sticking it on the table. I mean, I was going to open up a gum refactory, but I said I better not.
So that was kind of your pet peeve, is the gum under the table.
I mean, I tell you, it's bad sometimes.
Yeah, I can't remember. There's a wall somewhere where it's just filled with chewing gum, and it's pretty gross.
Yeah.
So,
yes, ma'am.
So putting their gum in the proper receptacle. Anything else that you would ask for support in helping to make your job easier?
Well, this year it seems like the kids are really more polite and stuff.
Excellent.
And every day we take the garbage cans around to the kids, and they'll thank you. Thank you for getting my trash, and they seem a lot nicer this year.
And I think to your point about building relationships, when you build relationships and they know you care about them, they care back about you. It is Fire Prevention Month, and although your role is somewhat different than a fireman, is there any advice you can give to our viewers about staying safe, what they can do at home to stay safe during this Fire Prevention Month? Always
make sure you have a proper fire alarm equipment. Make sure you test your batteries all the time, and you should set up a plan in case there is a fire. Even if you have a 2-story house, you should always make plans to have an escape route.
Yep, and probably even practice that, right?
Yes.
That's it. So if there was a fire, what advice would you give to students or a family?
Well, first of all, locate where the fire is, and make sure you have your phone always ready to dial 911, and if you can, get out immediately.
Any words of wisdom from your 40-year career to somebody who's first entering the world of work?
Just like I say, come in and do your best, and always be polite.
Definitely words to live by. I do want to thank you for being here, but before you leave, I'd like to honor you for your years of service to Red Clay with the Apple Award. It's a tradition that we have here on Red Clay this month. So. For your service, we'd like to give to you the Apple Award.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank everybody very much.
Well, thank you for being here. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Pleasure.
Thank you again, Steve, and thank you to all our guests today, our team from Baltz Elementary School, Jessica Terranova, and a special thank you to you, our viewing audience. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Red Clay this month. And before you go, I just want to leave you with this quote by Dr. Seuss. The more you read, the more things you will know. The more you learn, the more places you'll go. Thank you, and we'll see you next month.